Hello everyone. Today's topic is cone and color vision. So, specific learning objectives of today's lectures are to know about light and dark adaptation, to know about photochemistry of cone, and to know about color vision and its abnormality. So, first we will discuss about light and dark adaptation. So, first the light adaptation. If a person has been in bright light for hours, large portion of photochemicals in both the rods and cones will have been reduced to retinal and opsin. This thing we had discussed in previous lecture, which is known as the visual cycle, okay, in which when the light rays they strike the rods is converted into the it means in the rods there are rhodopsins, and this rhodopsin is converted into retinal and opsins. Okay. Furthermore, much of the retinal of both the rods and the cones will have been converted into vitamin A. Because of these two effects, the concentration of photosensitive chemicals remaining in the rods and cones are considerably reduced, and the sensitivity of the eye to light is correspondingly reduced. So, now the sensitivity it depends on the concentration of rhodopsin in case of rod, and in case of cone it is depends on color pigments or cone pigments. Okay. So, higher the, and these both are known as the photochemicals. So, higher is the concentration of photochemicals, more is the sensitivity towards the light, and less is the concentration, lower is the sensitivity. Okay. So, here when the person is remaining in the bright environment for a longer duration of time, so each during that time there will be a gradual decrease in the rhodopsin or cone pigments, rhodopsin in case of rod and cone pigment in case of code. So, both these photochemicals their concentration decreases when the person remain in the light for a longer duration of time. So, because of that their sensitivity to the light is decreased. Okay. So, that condition is known as the light adaptation. So, we all have experienced this thing that when we remain in the light for a longer duration of time, at that time our this photochemicals they are decreased in concentration, and that's why our sensitivity towards the light is decreases, because in the eye, particularly in the photoreceptor, this photochemicals they break down into its products, and because of this their overall concentration is reduced and they reduce the sensitivity of eye to the light. And that is the reason why when we enter from light into the dark area, at that time initially we have difficulty to see the things, because in the dark area even the light is also reduced, and our sensitivity of the eye is also reduced. Okay. So, that is why we are not able to see properly when we enter from bright lighted area into the dim lighted area. Okay. So, this is about the light adaptation. And this when we enter from dark into the bright light, the initially also we have a difficulty to see. So, if you come from dark room directly into the bright sunlight, okay, for example when you come out from the movie theater, okay, so when you come out from the movie theater into bright sunlight, initially there will be a difficulty, because the you feel that there will be a excessive illumination. Okay. And that is because of increased sensitivity, because in the dark the synthesis of resynthesis of rhodopsin, or in case of rod, and cone pigment in case of cone, they are increased. So, the sensitivity is more, and when this sudden increase in the amount of light with this increased sensitivity of rods and cones, they leads to very high illumination. So, that also blur the visions because of excessive light. Okay. So, but gradually this thing become adapted, and that is also known as light adaptation, because as the light enter into our eye, there will be a gradual this breakdown of rhodopsin, and so concentration of rhodopsin is gradually decreasing when the person remain in the bright light for a some duration of time, and after that he is adapted to see the thing properly. That is also one of the example of light adaptation. Now we see the dark adaptation, exactly opposite. If the person is enter into the dark room, okay, initially he or she having a difficulty to see this thing, but if he or she remain in the darkness for some duration of time, gradually his or her vision improve, okay, his ability to see the objects will improve after some time. So that is also because initially there is decreased sensitivity, but as the time progresses, as the person remain in the darkness, there will be a increase in the sensitivity, okay. So that is known as the dark adaptation, okay. It is actually exactly opposite of that of light adaptation, okay. So if a person remain in the darkness for a long time, the retinal and opsin in the rods and cones are converted back into light sensitive pigment. So this is about the resynthesis of rhodopsin in case of rod and cone pigment in case of cone. Furthermore, vitamin A is converted back into retinal to increase light sensitive pigments, and the final limit being determined by the amount of opsins in the rods and cones to combine with retinal. This is called dark adaptation, okay. So ability to see things in the darkness because of the gradual reformation of photochemicals or photopigments, that process is known as the dark adaptation, okay. So person's eye become adapted to see in the dark, okay, that is occur in the dark adaptation, okay, and the reason is because of the resynthesis of photochemicals from retinal and opsin, okay. The retinal and opsins, which is a form during the visual cycles, okay, that is all trans retinal plus scotopsin in case of rod, which we had already discussed in previous lecture, okay. So first this all trans retinal is converted into 11 cis retinal and combined with scotopsin to form the rhodopsin. That is the one pathway which is also known as direct pathway. Indirectly, that all trans retinal is converted into all trans retinol, that is one form of vitamin A. So in the darkness, this vitamin A is reconverted into the first 11 cis retinol, then 11 cis retinal, and then combine and forms the rhodopsin. So this is all about the reformation of photopigments, and that is one of the important cause for dark adaptation. Now this one is the dark adaptation curve. Here you can see that when the 0 minute means person enter into the dark from bright light area, okay. So initially the retinal sensitivity, and here is the retinal sensitivity, here is the duration in minutes, okay. So you can see that initially the sensitivity is low, because we have just seen that when the person remain in the darkness for longer duration of time, at that time there will be a decrease in the photochemicals because of the breakdown of rhodopsin, and their retinal sensitivity is reduced when they are remain in the bright light, and as they are just enter into the darkness, the retinal sensitivity is less, but this retinal sensitivity gradually increase, okay, and that is known as the dark adaptation. Increase in the retinal sensitivity in the darkness, that is known as the dark adaptation. So you can see that for around 1 minute the retinal sensitivity increase around 10 fold, okay, but if you compare after 20 minutes it increase around 6000 fold, okay, and at 40 minutes it increase at least more than 10,000 fold, okay. So that is the change in the retinal sensitivity as the person remain in the dark. And you have all observed this thing, that when suppose most of the time at the night, when you are sitting in the room with the bright light and suddenly the electricity is gone, So initially there is a complete darkness, but when you remain in the same area for a longer duration or for some duration of time, gradually you are able to see the things. Okay, so that is also one of the example of dark adaptation. And in dark adaptation, the at the photoreceptor level, the cone they are adapted first, because all the process, this photochemistry of vision, this visual cycle, all this process they occur rapidly in the cones compared to rods. And rods they the process is slow, so they are adapted for a longer duration of time. So we can say that the cone they are rapidly adapting and rods they are slowly adapting. They are the photoreceptors. In case of other sensory somatic receptor, you will learn in the CNS also this type of distribution: rapidly adapting sensory receptor and slowly adapting sensory receptor. But that you will learn in the somatic CNS. Okay, but here the cones they are adapted rapidly and the rods they are adapted slowly. Okay, but we can see that the from this graph we can say that within the 20 minutes the sensitivity is increased 6000 times. So that is more than enough to see the things in the darkness. Okay, so this is about this whole curve is known as dark adaptation curve. Now the this duration which is required for dark adaptation, that can be reduced also. And some of the radiologists, some of the air pilots who have to fly during the dark time or at the night, okay, or person who enter into the darkness and they have to work immediately in any profession which involves this type of methodology, they they try to reduce this dark adaptation time by wearing the red glasses even in the even when they are in the bright light. Okay, when the all this type of person, radiologists, air traffic pilots or aircraft pilots, they are wearing the red glasses when they are in the bright lights, because during that when they are wearing the red glasses, at that times the rods they are not used that much. Okay, so the photochemicals in the rods they are not broken down very much. Okay, the vision which is used is mainly through the cones, because the red glasses they stimulate the cones. The light which passes through the red glasses they stimulate that person's cone more than the rods even in the bright light. Okay, so at that time their rods they having a more chemicals remain, concentration of photochemicals remains in the rods when they are in the bright light. And from bright light when they enter into the darkness, because of they already having the higher sensitivity of the rods, so that may reduce this adaptation time. Okay, and that's why they can easily work after with less time duration in the darkness. They can easily see the things properly. Okay, so this is the reason why all this sometimes this radiologist and aircraft pilot they wear the red glasses even in the bright light. Okay, so this is about the dark adaptation curve. Now this what we have discussed is the mechanism of light and dark adaptation at the level of photoreceptors. Whatever changes we had discussed, it occur at the photoreceptors, but there are other mechanisms which also helps in this light and dark adaptation. The one is pupillary diameter. This thing we had already discussed, that the pupils they determine how much amount of light will enter into our eye. So suppose the person is in the bright light, at that time there will be a constriction of pupil, so they reduce the amount of light, because the less amount of light is required when the surroundings is very much bright. But when the surrounding is of dim lighted, at that time there will be a pupillary dilation, so more amount of light will enter into our eye, and in that way it try to make our visual image clear. Okay, the another is neural adaptation. that involving the neurons in the successive stages of visual change in the retina itself and in the brain. So now we all know that the retina is made up of several layers. Each layers they are considered as a neural layers, and they are made up of different type of neurons from outside to inside. They are the photoreceptors in the form of rods and cones, then bipolar cells, then hemacrine cells, then ganglionic cells. Okay, so all these are the different type of neurons in the retina itself, and then the axons of ganglionic cells they forms the optic nerve, and this optic nerves they goes up to the cerebral cortex in the occipital lobe in the visual cortex. Okay, so at each level the some amount of neuronal adaptation is also occurring during this light and dark adaptation. Okay, so these are the two other mechanism apart from the role of photoreceptors, that pupillary diameter and neural adaptation they helps in light and dark adaptation. And this light and dark adaptation they determine the retinal sensitivity as per the different amount of lights. Okay, so this is about the light and dark adaptation. Now the photochemistry of color vision by cones. Photochemistry of rod or rhodopsin, which we had already discussed in previous lecture. So this photochemistry of cone pigments they are almost same as that of the visual cycle of rhodopsin, okay, or photochemistry of rod. So cone have almost exactly the same chemical composition as that of rhodopsin in the rod. The only difference is that the protein portion or the opsin called photopsin in the cones are slightly different from the scotopsin of the rod, but the otherwise the whole the cycles is same, that all the in between byproducts and activated products all that are same. Okay, the color sensitive pigments of cones therefore are combination of retinal and photopsin. So only difference is this opsin protein. In case of rod it is scotopsin, in case of cone pigments it is photopsin. Okay, otherwise this retinal part is same, and that's why the visual cycle is also same, and the intracellular activation of that protein cascade systems there is also same in case of cone. Okay, so if the photochemistry of rod or cone asks, the only difference is in case of rod or rhodopsin, the final product is all transretinal plus scotopsin. Here our final product is all transretinal plus photopsin. So only this change, the name of this opsin is only differs in case of visual cycle between the cone and rods. Now the color pigments. So there are three type of cone, and each contain three different type of color pigments. Okay, so there are three color pigment in three different type of cones called respectively blue sensitive pigment, green sensitive pigment and red sensitive pigment, and these are also the three primary colors. Three primary colors are red, green and blue. The absorption characteristic of pigment in the three type of cone shows peak absorbency at light wavelength of 445, 535 and 570 nanometer respectively. It is the smallest one is for blue, this one is for green and this one is for red. This maximum peak absorbency, it means the highest amount of light rays which is absorbed at this spectral wavelength, that is determine which color is going to, or first which cone is going to stimulate it, and that determine which color the person is going to perceive. For example, that here you can see that for blue color, this on x axis the light absorption percentage of maximum, and here the wavelength. These are the visual spectrum. Okay, you are very well aware about this visual spectrum. Okay. So at the peak absorbency of around 445, the person perceives the blue color. Okay. So blue cone is maximally stimulated, or blue cone maximally absorbs the light rate which having a wavelength of 445 nanometer. The green one having a maximum peak absorbency as at around 535 nanometer, and red cone having a 570 nanometer. Okay, but actually you can see the sensitivity of red light is having a range, the same way the green light having a range and blue light having a range. Okay, and there is a much overlapping between the red and green spectral red and green spectrum wavelengths. Okay. Now tricolor mechanism of color detection. There are few theories which are there to explain that why we are able to see the different type of color. Actually we have having only three cones. One is for detection of blue, another is for detection of green, and the third one is detection of red. So we have only three cone for three primary colors, even though we are able to differentiate so many colors or able to see so many type of color. So how this is possible? To explain this thing, there are few theories. The overall conclusion of all these theories of color vision, they are based on well known observation that the human eye can detect almost all gradation of color when only red, green and blue monochromatic light are appropriately mixed in different combination. So this thing some of you are having a hobby of this painting. Okay, and they are very well known, were very well aware that by mixing two color or more than two color, they can get their acquired color or their required color. Okay, and if you change this combination, means the amount of two color mixing, if you change the concentration or amount of this two color, the third color which we will getting, they will also change. For example, here if we take this orange, here the person is see the orange color when they stimulate the green cone at 42 percentage, they stimulate the red cone at 99 percentage. Okay, so when the red cone is 99% stimulated and the green cone is 42% stimulated, and the blue cone is at that time, this dotted line for orange is not crossing the blue curve. So we can say the ratio of this red, green and blue, if they are stimulated at 99 is to 42 is to 0, at that time the color which is perceived by person's eye is orange. Same way for blue color, the this same way, sorry, for same way for yellow color, this red and green, both the cones, they are stimulated respectively at 83 is to 83%, and also the this blue one is at time 0. So 83 is to 83 is to 0, it gives the uh, feeling of perceiving yellow color. Same way the green, okay, this dotted line is for green, so you can see it involves all the three cones. Then the green spectrum light, when it stimulate the 31% of red, 36% of blue and 67% of green. Okay, so on this ratio, when this much stimulation is there, the person perceives the green color. Okay, so not only at the maximum absorbency it perform the green can only be perceived by mixing all these three at different degree of stimulation, and the blue cone is only going to stimulate, the blue color is only going to stimulate the blue cone. You can see that there will be no any involvement of red or green cone. Okay, so the blue is perceived when they exclusively stimulate the blue cone around 97%. Okay, so this is how the different color can be seen when we stimulate the three cone at different gradation of stimulation or different degree of stimulation. And when the degree of stimulation of all the three cones are same, for example 40 is to 40 is to 40, all the three cone blue, green and red. So if you stimulate all the three cone pigments at the same degree of stimulation or same uh, absorbency, the person perceives the white color. Okay, so mixing all the three colors of same amount, whatever the color is produced is white. Okay, so white stimulation is there when the all the three cone pigments, they are stimulated at same degree of light absorbency. Okay. So this is about the one theory, or we can say the conclusion of all theories of color vision. So now we see the theories of color vision. There are here two theories. One is the trichromatic coding theory of Young and Helmholtz. This say the same thing, that light of different color have different wavelength and they excite different type of cones in the retina. There are three type of cones, namely the L cone for long wavelength, they gives the red color, M cone for medium wavelength for green color, and S cone for short wavelength for blue color. So long wavelength light, they stimulate the red color or red cone, medium wavelength light they stimulate the green cone, and short wavelength light they stimulate the blue color. All color are coded at the receptor by different stimulation of this three type of cones. So depending on the degree of stimulation or degree of absorbency, this three cones, they are stimulated and they gives the accordingly the color perception. Okay, this is known as trichromatic coding. Tri means three, chromatic means color. Okay, so this is known as the trichromatic coding, and this theory is trichromatic coding theory of Young and Helmholtz. So it is that the three different type of cones, they respond to three different type of wavelength, and each wavelength is for each primary color. The another is opponent color coding. Now this another theory is known as opponent color coding. This theory is mainly occur at ganglionic cell level, and also it involves the visual cortex also. Okay, so the first theory is at the receptor level. It explains the processing of color vision at receptor level. This opponent color coding is explain the processing of color vision at ganglionic cell level and even at the cortex level. So in the ganglionic cell, there is a opponent color coding which occurs in the blobs of striated cortex. Now blobs is the area of visual cortex which interpret the color. Okay, that we will discuss later on in detail, but for now you have to remember this one name, that is a name is given to specific area of visual cortex which mainly interpret the color vision. There are three distinct opponent mechanisms which are formed by summation or subtraction of signal from three type of cones. Now if you remember the arrangement in the retina, then the photoreceptors are there, they forms the synapse with the bipolar cells, then the ganglionic cells, and then the nerve fiber. In between there are horizontal cells and amacrine cells. Okay, so when the different cone, the signals and the number of cones are more than the number of ganglionic cells. Okay, so it is seen that more than two or more than two cones they synapse with a single ganglionic cell. Okay, so sometimes the signals which is coming from different cones, they summated and stimulate the uh, ganglionic cell. Sometimes the one cone or one process of the cone they stimulate the ganglionic cell, the process from another cone they inhibit the ganglionic cells, because in between the cones and ganglionic cells there are bipolar cells, and these bipolar cells they are either depolarizing or hyperpolarizing. If they are depolarizing, they passing the excitatory signal. If they are hyperpolarizing, they are passing the inhibitory signal to ganglionic cell. Okay, so ultimately whatever the signal is coming at the ganglionic cell from the cone, they are coming from more than one cones. Okay, so at the end either there may be a summation or there may be a subtraction. Okay, if incoming all the signals are excitatory, there will be a summation. If one is excitatory and another inhibitory, then there may be a subtraction. So all this summation subtraction type of process they ultimately occurs, and they determine this opponent mechanism. And there are three possibility. One is the red green opponent mechanism, in which the signals coming from long and medium type of cones, okay, or the cones which perceive the long and medium type of wavelength. So in that the red is for long, green is for medium, and there will be a subtraction. So the ultimately the light coming from the red they excite the ganglionic cell, the light coming from the green they inhibit the ganglionic cells, and uh, then the ganglionic cell there will be a subtraction between red minus green, and whatever the signal is there it is transmitted, and it helps to perceivance of the color. Okay, so that is known as the red green opponent mechanism. In yellow blue opponent mechanism there is also a subtraction, but here first there is a addition between the red and green because it forms the yellow color. Okay, so in yellow blue opponent mechanism the signal which is coming from red and green cones, there may be a summation, there will be a summation, and this summated part is subtracted from the signal which is coming from blue cone, that is from S type of cones. Okay, short wavelength type of signals. Okay, so S minus L plus M. Okay, so that is known as the yellow blue opponent mechanism. Okay, lastly the achromatic opponent mechanism, in which the all the signals which is coming from all the three type of cones, that is red plus green plus blue, so they are all summated. Okay, in first two there will be a subtraction, in the third one only the summation are there, it means only addition. So the signal which is coming from red plus signal which is coming from green plus signal which is coming from blue, all they are edited at the ganglionic level, and then the ganglionic cell they transmit the signal. Okay, so this is achromatic opponent mechanism. Now the color blindness. So the most common blindness is red green color blindness, and this reason is that sometimes the one group of cone pigments they are absent because of genetic defect. Okay, so that person is not able to see the colors which fall on that spectral absorbency. Okay, so that leads to the inability to identify the color which involves the that particular wavelength of light. Okay, when a single group of color receptive cone is missing from the eye, the person is unable to distinguish some color from others. So not only it's able to see that particular color, but that having also difficulty which involves the some amount of stimulation of that cone. Okay, the person with loss of red cone is called protenops, okay, and that condition is known as protenopia. The color blind person who lack the green cone is called deuteranop, and that condition is known as deuteranopia. Only rarely are blue cone missing, that is a tritranopia. Okay. Although sometimes they are under represented, which is genetically inherited state, giving rise to a phenomenon called blue weakness. So most commonly either red cone are absent or the blue cone are absent, and that is red. That's why the red green color blindness are more commonly seen. The blue color blindness are rarely seen, and the gene for each of color pigments, they are we can say on the different chromosome. The red and green cone pigments, they are situated, or the gene for red and green color pigments, they are situated on the long arm of X chromosome, while the blue cone pigments, gene for blue cone pigments, they are situated on chromosome number 7. Okay. So this color blindness, red green color blindness, they are actually a X-linked recessive disease that we will see just later on. Before that, to diagnose the color blindness, there is a one chart which is known as color test chart, which is also known as Ishihara chart, and this chart you will also learn in the lab, in lab practicals. Okay. So this chart are arranged with a confusion of spots of several different color. In the top chart, the person with normal color vision, they read 74, whereas the red green color blind person read 21. So when you see this top chart, if you are able to read the 74, then you are having a normal color vision. If you are red green color blind, then instead of 74 you will read 21. And in this bottom, if your color vision is normal, you will see the 42, while the red green whereas the red blind person read 2 and the green blind person only read 4. Okay. So this type of different chart, along with this differentiation, that which if what type of figure is leads or it's indicating which type of color blindness, that separate table is given along with this chart, that you will learn in a lab also. Okay. And this is known as the Ishihara chart. It is also known as color test chart. So it mainly helps to differentiate the red green color blindness. Now color blindness, the red green color blindness is a genetic disorder that occur almost exclusively in male. That is, the gene in the female X chromosome codes for the respective cones. Okay. Yet the color blindness almost never occur in female, because at least one of the two X chromosome almost always has a normal gene for each type of cone, and because the male has only one X chromosome, a missing gene can lead to color blindness. Okay. So this color blindness is X-linked recessive. So females are always a carrier. So female don't manifest the disease, but when this defective X chromosome is transferred into the male only having a one X chromosome, so they suffer from this color blindness, while the female having a extra chromosome. So even if the one X chromosome is defective, the other X chromosome having a normal gene, and they are not going to manifest the disease. Okay. So they are not going to suffering for the disease. Okay. So even if the female having a defective genes, they having a normal color vision, while they act as a carrier and they pass on to its male child. Okay. So the male, the color blindness is, that's why exclusively found in males. Okay. So female has to bear the both the defective X chromosome, then and then she suffer from the disease. Otherwise the females are mainly carriers. Okay. And that's why this color blindness, particularly the red green color blindness, they are X-linked recessive disease, while the blue cones, they are on the 7 chromosome and they are rarely absent. Okay. Sometimes the color blindness also occur because of damage in the visual area. Okay, particularly the area number 8, V8, not the area number 8 but V8, that is the distribution in the visual cortex itself. Okay, so this uh, leads to the cortical blindness, cortical color blindness, in which all type of color may be affected, and that is known as achromatopsia. Okay, the color blindness because of the damage in the visual cortex, that is known as achromatopsia, achromatopsia. Okay, so that is cortical color blindness. And sometimes the persons who is taking sildenafil, that is the trade name is commonly known as Viagra. So the person taking that drug may also feel a temporary color blindness because of the side effect of the drug, because this drug is going to inhibit the phosphodiesterase enzymes, the enzymes which is required for the visual cycle. We had seen that in the visual cycle, this phosphodiesterase, they cause the breakdown of cyclic GMP into 5 days GMP, and that's why they are going to close that sodium channel, if you remember the visual cycle. So if this phosphodiesterase is inhibited, that is leads to the defect in the color perception. Okay, so that is one of the also reason for color blindness. Okay, so these are the some applied aspect about the color vision. Okay, so with this we are here completing our color vision. Thank you.